today, I often am very, very spontaneous and creative. There's like a poet inside of me that's always looking for a metaphor. And the human magnet syndrome started with a metaphor. It was the dance. It all started with this idea of I'm going to explain why I marry in my first two marriages. I married or in relationships, romantic relationships, I was involved with people that ended up being narcissistic, and why me, the codependent, always fell prey to that. And of course, the classic codependent don't dance, narcissist, uh, codependent magnet idea. And that metaphor changed everything. So today, I was thinking, I said, what am I going to talk to my Instagram folks today about? I want it to be interesting. And of course, on Mondays and Thursdays, I go and I work out. And I go to Anytime Fitness in Buffalo Grove. And my personal trainer, very young, talented guy named Russell, pushes me really hard. You got to do this. And all of a sudden, I had my idea. I know what I want to talk to you guys about. And it's about breaking through your fears of getting stronger. And so I want to tell you guys a story that's going to help you understand what self-love recovery is, why it's so damn difficult to achieve, and why our fears and anxieties keep us from ever wondering and experiencing the wonders and the beauty of and the freedom of not disliking ourselves, not hating ourselves, not being insecure, and just finally experiencing a sense of peace in your own life. So here's the story. So I'm 58 years old, and in 1998, I had terrible back pain, absolutely terrible back pain. I'm 28 years old. I'm just out of graduate school, and my back hurt all the time. And I went from doctor to doctor, and long story short, they tell me I have this degenerative disc. And they didn't think that it was a big deal. And they said, you just need to exercise. And if you exercise, it'll get better. So I'm listening to doctors, and because we all believe doctors, psychotherapists, or other professionals know what they're talking about. And so every time I exercised, it got worse. And I'm like thinking, WTF, if I'm like exercising and it gets worse, I start to feel like there's no hope. I have this horrible pain, and the doctors say I should be able to solve it just by doing something and exercising. And every time I'd go to a physical therapist, I'd exercise, I'd have pain. So I became afraid. I became terrified of exercising and thinking I could get stronger. And so I passively hoped and waited for this cure to my back pain. And it didn't get better. And ultimately it necessitated a very serious surgery at the time. It was a spinal fusion. And the recovery was tremendously long. It was 90 days. And yet there was more pain. And the doctor said, you can get rid of your pain if you just exercise. We've done the surgery. You should be able to exercise and everything will be fine. So of course I'm listening to doctors, and when I would exercise, the pain got worse again. And I kept wondering, why do I have worse pain when I try to solve my problem? I'm listening to these professionals who supposedly understand my problem. They tell me to do this, this, and this, and it causes me more pain. And I developed this tremendous fear, anxiety, and a little bit of PTSD about exercising, because every time I tried to do something good for my body, it made it worse. So what happens after a while when you learn to try to be stronger, to try to do what everyone knows gets you stronger, exercising, you end up in worse shape, is you feel trapped. You feel like this perpetual weak victim that has no opportunity to escape the pain caused by your weakness, the pain caused by your disorder, which is caused by weakness. And then you fall victim to it and you just ride it out, trying to avoid the pain, trying to get ahead of the pain, but never really solving it because you don't even trust the doctors anymore. Oh, by the way, I cut my finger today. I couldn't find a Band-Aid. So here we go. It's my attempt to not bleed all over the place when I'm on Instagram. So I thought I'd have to throw that out there. So with all this like pain and everyone saying, just exercise and be strong, and you know that it doesn't work, it makes it worse, you go deeper and deeper in a hole. And you guys probably know this, about a year ago, I decided to dig myself out of this big hole that I kept very secret to everyone, including my family. And I don't want to go into details, but it impacted a relationship I was in, and I had to leave it, and I had to change everything in my life. And 1 year ago, I reconnected myself to my own self-love recovery program. And I thought to myself, okay, so self-love recovery, taking care of someone's self to finally love someone, it's more than just psychological health. It's more than, occupational health, social health. I wanted to finally exercise physically. I'm 58 years old, and for 30 years, I never exercised because I was afraid that it would make my back worse. Every so often in the last 30 years, I would try to exercise and my back would hurt again. And I had this learned helplessness, this fear that if I finally break out of my fear and say, I'm finally going to overcome this, I would end up back in a worse situation. And I decided, I'm going to not listen to my head anymore. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to even listen to my body because my body is working against me. My body says, if you take care of yourself, I'm going to punish you by putting your back into spasms. And you guys know, if you've heard my videos, your body carries trauma. Your body represents your self-love deficit disorder. Your body carries so much information about why you have self-love deficit disorder, which, as you probably know because you follow me, is codependency. So I said, I'm going to like exercise, and I'm going to not be afraid. My back goes out if it goes into spasms. So I joined right down the street, Anytime Fitness, and got this young, really great guy, Russell. And I can't remember his name, but it's Tagliamente or something like really Italian to Sicilian, but a really good kid. And I decided I'm going to bust through this stuff. And I started with 5 pounds, 10 pounds. And I told these guys, here's this 58-year-old guy who looks like he's in shape, just jeans. I was scared. I said, I am so afraid of lifting weights. And so I broke through my fear. And every week I go in there, and all of a sudden I am free to become stronger. I am free to experiment with the capabilities of my physical health. I am no longer trapped by my fear that if I go beyond a certain level of physical exertion, I'm going to have a consequence. And today, during my physical training, during my exercise at Russell, it hit me. I'm going to talk to you guys about this. I'm going to talk to you about how self-love deficit disorder metaphorically parallels my experience with my fear of exercising. We are so afraid of breaking out from our self-love deficiency to self-love abundance that we predict something will hurt us. We predict it will be worse. We predict there will be more pain. And just like my exercise, and I'm going to call it a phobia, I predicted it and it happened. And every single time I exercised, my back would go into spasm. And you SLDs out there, you people who are self-love deficient, when you predict it's going to hurt more if you try to get better, it's going to happen. And that narrative that was once pushed onto you, the gaslighting that you endured as a kid, when your parents, your narcissistic parent says you're only as good as what you give up. You're only as good as how invisible you are. You're only as good as how much you sacrifice or you make the narcissist parent happy. That narrative of you can't ever be good enough and strong enough for yourself, well, that narrative kept you from thinking you deserve to be strong enough and that the pain and the consequence for being strong enough won't push you down. Because SLDs know. They know from as early as I can remember that any opportunity to get stronger, any opportunity to grow, to metaphorically become physically healthier, psychologically healthier, is threatening. It is hugely threatening to the narcissist in your life. And the narcissists do not want you to get stronger. And just like my back would spasm if I tried to get stronger physically because there was a psychological process to keep me entrapped, the narcissist in your life will metaphorically be the back spasm that will say, no way, we don't want you to get stronger, because if you get stronger, you're going to leave us, and who's going to take care of us? So through gaslighting, through manipulation, through coercion, they make you feel pain in the process of getting stronger. And just like my fear of exercising, you said, no way, I'm done. I'd rather live without the consequence of pain. And I say to you, break through. Understand that to get stronger, to find self-love abundance, to find something that no one wants you to have because they're too damn selfish to allow it, is that you are going to feel pain. And I promise you, it will be not very, very pleasurable. You will feel pain that is psychological pain, fear, anxiety, dread, shame. You will feel physical pain because if you listen to some of my videos, you will know that self-love deficit disorder manifests in physical disorders, fibromyalgia, headaches, ulcers, sexual problems. There are so many physical disorders that are caused by your head. And that is the pain that you experience if you break through and find self-love for yourself. And every week, I go twice a week to this Anytime Fitness place in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. And I go in there and I talked to the owner today, and I was like really excited. I don't even think she knew I wrote a book, and so I sat down with her and I said, I have to tell you that, because of Russell, I have this idea that I want to talk with my Instagram folks. And she goes, that's funny, Ross. She goes, when you first came in 3 months ago, you looked really anxious. And you looked so nervous, and we didn't understand why you were nervous. And they go, you kind of walk in now and you have a swagger. And first of all, I'm thinking, swagger? What? So I thought, well, okay, don't get defensive. It's probably a compliment. And I go, okay, well, I guess, because I go in there and I go, I'm going to get stronger every day. Every day, I'm going to just do a little bit more, and my body is not going to rebel. And I say to you guys, with your self-love deficit disorder, if you want self-love recovery, if you want to break through and you want to get what you deserve, that you were born to deserve, but your narcissistic and codependent parent were too threatened to love you in the way to make you be this self-loving person, there's no way, but you got to break through, and you got to break through your own fears. The gaslighting voices that are probably not even your voices. When you say, I'm smart, there'll be consequences. I'll be punished. I'll mess up. I'll humiliate myself. They're not even your voices. Those come from your childhood. Those are gaslit narratives that come from your childhood. So you carry those, and you prove to yourself that you are going to have more pain and consequence for getting better. I say fight that. I say break through that and be ready for the pain, and understand that on the other side is the feeling of relief, is the feeling of freedom. It's the feeling of progressive strengthening. And yes, you'll lose the narcissist in your life. And I talk about this throughout my work, especially in my 10-stage work. So that is what I wanted to talk to you about, is this, what started off as a metaphor from exercising today, about how if we're going to break through to self-love recovery and solve the self-love deficit disorder, your self-love deficiency, your codependency, or what I call the codependency cure, you have to fight the voices in your head, the narratives that have been gaslighted into you that's going to say you're going to suffer, there's going to be consequences. You have to fight the real consequences of people pushing you back, threatening you, tripping you up, sabotaging you, and other consequences that you just can't get by, because everyone needs you to be codependent. Everyone needs you to be self-love deficient. And you have to say, I'm ready. And it'll be hard. And the fear of the pain is not going to keep me down. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to share some of my insights. Because if you guys have been following me, you know that my work is me. I have a new friend, a sweet woman, and she says, quit being a therapist. And because I talk about this stuff. And I said to her, I said, and she's very inquisitive and interesting. And I said, this is me. I am working my program. That's the whole human magnet syndrome. Yeah, it's a book. I don't talk about it that much. But if I talk about parts of it, I'm not talking about my book. I'm talking about my process. Everything that I created, every idea comes from my attempt to find higher levels of self-love recovery. And I'm still working on it. And I'm making a lot of progress. I am moving into, gratefully, my 9th stage of 10, which is bringing self-love abundance into a relationship with another person. So that's for another night, another discussion. But by the way, commercial time. Otherwise, I will hear from my dear partner, Carolina Guzman, who is the operations director of Self-Love Recovery Institute. I own this company, Self-Love Recovery Institute. And we have different events. We have retreats. And we do their 3-day retreats in which they're transformational, and they help get to and heal the trauma child, the origins of self-love deficit disorder. Our June retreat is filled. We are now taking registrations for September. It's 3 days. It's in Skokie, Illinois, about 10 miles from O'Hare Airport in Chicago. We are planning in June. Big news. You guys are the first to hear. I'm doing a 2-day live seminar. And I'm going to talk about something that I have not yet given a full day presentation on. I'm going to present a 6-hour training on my treatment technique, my therapy technique. So this is for therapists. Send your therapist to this, and you can come do it also. I'm going to explain how to do this therapy technique to resolve the trauma, the unconscious trauma, the disassociated trauma responsible for self-love deficit disorder. How to take that which is disassociated or repressed and bring it forward. So in, I believe, early June, write Carolina at help@selfloverecovery.com, or just check out our website, selfloverecovery.com, and we're going to do a 2-day training. It's going to be awesome. After a relationship with a narcissist, when you start dating again, how do you distinguish your intuition from being scared? If you have done really good healing work with self-love deficit disorder, your intuition changes because the human magnet syndrome changes. I think chapter 8 of my book, when I talk about the relationship compatibility theory, I basically say that as someone becomes more and more self-love abundant and they heal, they move on this continuum and they become healthier, and that they're going to always attract the opposite of them. So as a person who's becoming healthier, they're going to attract another person who's become healthier. So the intuition parallels your healing and your strengthening and the resolution of your trauma, your shame, your loneliness. And I promise you that's a fact. That if you make progress in your self-love recovery, your intuition will follow. And that is different from fear. So guys, I want to say you guys rock, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And I'm touched for your belief in me and your connection to the self-love recovery community, because we are growing. We are becoming large. We don't blame narcissists. We are not fueled by anger. We don't follow people that talk about narcissists. Yes, that helps you in the beginning, but it doesn't get you anywhere. This is about you and healing, and that's your best way to overcome self-love deficit disorder and find self-love recovery. All right, guys, be cool, be well, and I wish you the most beautiful self-love in your life possible. Bye-bye.